Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
This is the MFS Wellness Podcast, and I would be Mike Sinopoli, your host. And on this episode, I'm kind of building off of some stigmas that we have. You know, there's a lot of them that we kind of just developed as a society, at least here in the United States. Sometimes it is around the world. But there are some stigmas out there that can get really frustrating for some people. And I think one of them is how we treat food service employees, or our thoughts around someone who's working in the food industry. That could be a server, a host, a bartender, a manager, a dishwasher, anybody that's involved in food service. There seems to be some sort of stigma that their job may be lesser than others, that it's not something that's white collar, that you went to a college to go to. So it kind of gets, demeaned a little bit. And I don't think that's very fair. Now, to put it out there, I have worked in food service before. I have been in banquets. I have bartended. I have served tables and all kinds of other things. Worked at a country club. When I was really young, I did bar back. I did all the jobs here and there. It's not for me. It's not my first choice, and that's not to be demeaning towards the job at all. And I think that we do sometimes occasionally look at this type of work as something that's subpar. It's a necessary thing, though. That's one of the jobs I think we sort of all encounter most often. We're all going out to eat, whether you're driving through somewhere, whether you're sitting down, having a meal. One thing that is part of the stigma is that I think just because someone is bartending or serving tables or hosting or whatever they're doing, in a lot of cases, we just make the assumption that they're in some sort of interim, that their life isn't going the way they want it to go, that maybe they're in search of something else. They're just doing this temporarily to pay the bills. And in some cases, they might be. In some cases, they're not. It's very possible that some people, humans, they want to work in that sort of environment. They thrive in it, and they truly enjoy what they do, whether that's waiting tables or bartending, whatever appeals to them within the industry. So, I think that it would be beneficial that we treat them with more respect. The reason I'm even coming on here with this episode is because I have seen some people just completely treat their server like garbage. And I think it's a form of job shaming in a way. I do believe that it would be great if everyone actually worked in food service for a little bit. And that can go for a lot of different jobs, but like food service in particular, because I think we all encounter that profession ourselves mostly as a customer. So I think that would be a great idea to kind of understand how things work and what they are up against and the hustle that's needed for it, and how things can go wrong that aren't their issue, yet the customer will take it out on them. Then that's kind of the nature of the job when you're the face of it, whether you're, in other industries too, such as like call center, customer service. No matter what goes wrong, if somebody messes something up in shipping, the customer, they come at you. They just hammer you. And, I was at a restaurant the other day, and I saw this gentleman, and I use that term loosely for him, completely just really demeaning the server, making it really difficult for them, almost as if they were trying to make it difficult for the server. It seems like some people kind of go out and, they have this just, I don't know, this ego to them that they want to just shit on somebody and make their lives suck. And I can take that any which way. Sometimes these people are just miserable humans who don't have a lot of control in their lives and have their own misery, and they just get out to just spew that shit out everywhere in a form of just grotesque toxicity that permeates through society and makes everybody fucking miserable, because that's just the way some people have to be. But yeah, these are the types of people that I think should go work in food service for a little bit. Humble yourself a little bit, understand some things, before you just start pissing and moaning. And when we're talking about these types of people who come in and shit on the job, or will demean a server, or treat them like they're their servant or their peasant of sorts, these are the same kind of people that are going to bitch and moan that there's a smudge on their plate. So they're not only are they shaming the service and they're shaming the job and they're shitting on it, but they're demanding perfection from it at the same time. So they're hypocrites themselves, in my opinion. So, if you're going to, tell somebody that, treat them as if their job is lesser or they're lesser humans because of what they're doing, but then also expect this glorious, this fucking amazing experience from them. Like, what is that? Like, you should at least appreciate the person doing that for you to helping you out. In many cases, we sometimes like we were saying before in the beginning of this episode, like we kind of think that these servers are not making money or they're a lesser job, but like in a lot of cases, it's kind of can get embarrassing because hey, maybe someone has their little 40K salary, their white collar work, and they're at a higher end restaurant talking down to a server, and that server is actually making double their salary in like half the hours worked. And that's very possible at times. So, sometimes not that what somebody makes should determine their value or their status. I don't believe that. I think we've put way too much emphasis on success and finance as one thing. I think there's a lot of different versions of success in life, and I think it's individualized per person. So, that's just kind of the way our superficial society has sort of generalized success, and it's all about dollars and cents and fame and all that other superficial crap that none of us are ever going to really reach that's going to impress anybody, because most people don't give a fuck what you're doing. They care about themselves. So that's unfortunate, but that's kind of what it is. You might have your fancy little LinkedIn job title with your suit and tie to work, and you have your cubicle, your wherever you're at, and who knows, you go out to eat, and if you're going to have that attitude, you're going to be that piece of shit that's going to go out there and demean other professions. That just shows low shit character. And it doesn't matter what you make. I don't care if you make 40 grand, 80 grand, 200 grand. It doesn't matter. That doesn't do anything for you. The amount of money that you make, it doesn't dictate how you can act. It's just pure shit. It's just pure crappy way to go. I think most people just keep that sort of thing for themselves, because the money that you make is yours. It's your thing. No one needs to know what you make or how you come about your wealth. It's when you start having to broadcast that just shows piss poor ego, that shows insecurity, that shows obsession with self and with image, in my opinion. So, be nice to these servers, because, you don't know, I don't know where a person is, it's too many variables, and everyone's too individualized to really come to say, hey, this and that. But all you need to do is just be nice. Like, just, I tend to go to restaurants, and I just, I thank the shit out of the server. It's like really awkward, actually. I think I overthank the server. I think I probably thank the server like, I don't know, 17 to 18 times throughout the whole time. And, like they'll come by, put a glass down, and then I'll be like, thank you. And then they'll fill the glass up with some water, and I'll be like, thank you. And then they'll be walking away and say, thank you. That's what I do. Not necessary, but, it's what I do. I also tend to clean up my plates at the table for the server. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm doing them a disservice by stacking the plates incorrectly and making it worse for them, but, I mean well, so I do that. I clean up. I don't like to be a slob. I have some, self-worth. I have some dignity, I guess, and I like to just, that's how I carry myself. I'm going to clean up a little bit this table. I don't want to leave a slopping mess for this person to clean up. And I've been there before, too, so I know, and it doesn't bother me. Someone that doesn't know might say, hey, what are you doing cleaning up the fucking table? That's the server's job. It's not your job. You don't fucking work here. Why are you doing that? Make them do it. And I get it. That's fine. You can take that old school mentality or whatever. If you feel that you're entitled to that, and technically you're probably right. I don't have to clean up my little area and make sure that it's all organized. But again, I don't like clutter. I don't like messes, and I don't like to broadcast that for myself. That's just the way it is. So, like I said, going back to this, like if you have your little office job, you're working whatever it is, you're fine, great. But at the same time, someone might like this style of work we were saying, like, they're on their feet all the time, they're moving around, they're socializing, they can forget the job when they go home too. A lot of dynamic jobs, which nothing wrong with that, but you're working all the time, you're always on, you always have to be accessible. With this type of job, you can go make your money in a short amount of time typically, and get out. And it depends on the amount of hours worked, but whatever it is, you're working on tips. So, and anything, the higher end the restaurant, the better you're going to do. And like I said before, there's some servers and bartenders that could be clearing well more than just somebody working a regular job. You know, so it can make people feel authoritative a little bit, you know, like I was saying before, like, you know, hey, I'm going to tell this person what to do and where to go and how to be. And, you know, you don't know what this person's going through, the server, you know, like I said, sometimes maybe it is their primary job and they enjoy it. Or in some cases, it might actually be their second job and they don't want to do it. And they're just trying to make ends meet for themselves because of this crazy ass price hike of everything in this world, and the way we're ripping each other off, and the fucking raging greed we have that goes from every single area of every single industry. And it's just getting out of hand, in my opinion, but it is what it is. You know, I guess that's just how things go. So, you know, that might be their second job. Maybe they are a single person, or they have kids or whatever, or they're just trying to keep things afloat. To go in there and shit on them and make their lives harder, you know, what good is that? You know, you go into that shit. In my opinion, I go in. I'm not telling everybody what to do, but I just go in there with, you know, I don't expect some great expectations. I expect enough. You know, there's a certain point where, hey, like, where the hell did the server go? Like, come on, like, show your face a little bit. I get that, but you know, at the same time, we have to just kind of have some patience and shit. I know hanger comes in when you're hangry and you're just fucking hungry and you don't know where the server is. You're like, give me my fucking food, because you're about to fucking scream because that just pit of just nausea is hitting you, or hunger. It's like waiting around at the Olive Garden for the breadsticks and shit. Just kidding. I don't go to the fucking Olive Garden. It's fucking gross. It's reheated Italian lean cuisines, in my opinion. But whatever. Sometimes you end up there when you have kids, right? You know, sometimes it's also good to understand that some mishaps are going to happen in a busy restaurant. And a lot of times it's not the server's fault. You know, something can go wrong in the kitchen, something can go wrong with the system, and something can go awry at your table from those. And it's kind of cool to understand that, hey, you know, you still tip the damn server well. You know, I think you should still tipping, you know, 18 to 20% is good. You know, if you don't like the prices of the place, if the food sucked, you know, don't take that out on the server. Just don't go back. That's really how you want to do that. You know, don't I didn't like the food, or the kitchen was backed up, so the food took longer, so I'm going to give the server 0 tip or shit tip. You know, I don't like that. That's kind of a shitty way to do it. If you know, I mean, you can tell if your server is nowhere to be found, and or has a really neglectful personality, maybe. Then you can maybe say, all right, well, you know what, you don't deserve, maybe you give you 15%, but they are still working for it. As long as you got your food on the table, I think that's worth giving them at least some sort of tip, in my opinion. But we're all in the same system. We're all trying to earn. We're all trying to do the same thing and kind of just make it all fucking work, you know? So I got some social media responses. I asked some people. I'm going to go through these here real quick. You know what? Some of their best and worst issues that they had, some of their best and worst experiences, I mean, that they had when they were working in food service or in some sort of industry there. And a few of these are pretty good. I had a customer bite me when I didn't acknowledge his advances. So you see what people have to deal with out there is that you got people who want to come at you, will put their teeth on you. I think that's a lawsuit right there. I hope that something happened with that one. Another one here. Worst experience was waiting on a table of 20, 17 kids and 3 adults and getting a $3 tip. Wow. Yeah, I don't understand the logic behind that, because, I mean, if you had a table of 20, you know, well, I'm just going to say at minimum, I mean, I don't know what type of restaurant this was. It doesn't say. But 20 people, if everyone spent $10 only, which is probably way, way low, I mean, you should be at least getting a $20 tip? I don't know. Something like that. Minimum. Not even $40, I'd say. 20%. Something like that. And that's if it's $200. But you got $3. Now, that's insulting. That's almost like, just give me nothing. Just give me 0 in that case. I don't want any tip. I don't want your fucking money because you don't know how to fucking treat people. That's just our culture here. You know, if you're from other countries, and, you know, I've been out to Europe and they don't really work on tips out there. Tipping is not as customary in most places. So, you know, if you're overseas, this is how we do it. If you're going to take a trip to the United States, servers, bartenders, they work on tips. They rely on them to survive. So let's see. Another one here. Sat next to Peter Farrelly at a bar and ended up talking with him over a 2-hour dinner. All right, maybe not necessarily related to food service work, but you never know who you're going to meet. Maybe you do wait on a table that's got somebody that's of note. Maybe a famous person. And I think that we also expect rich and famous people to over tip the shit out of us. And maybe some do. There's, I'm here in Chicago, and there's been some. The Bulls were big back in the day, and it was noted that Michael Jordan was a very generous tipper, but Scottie Pippen was not. I think personally, just because somebody has great wealth, they're not entitled to share that with you just because they have it. I think that someone that is worth $20 million should tip the same as somebody that's worth $200,000. I just think that. I don't why. Okay, you have it, great. You should give me more because you have money? No, I don't think it works like that. I understand the concept, like, oh, he's got so much, you only gave me this. I don't know, man. You don't deserve it. You just because they have more, you don't deserve it, at least in that position. Let's see here. Bartender, drunk guy. She was a bartender. Drunk guys hitting on you and waiting after your shift is over for you, and that was scary. Yeah, I have to give women a lot of credit who bartend. Granted, I believe that they will make more in tips than a man, just because, you get the perverted businessmen who think they're God's gift to women and they're really just nauseating fucking perverts. And I think that women that are out there, they're pretty brave to go out there and bartend and, end work late at night, walk to your car with wads of cash potentially. I do commend places that have a security guard or a bouncer or some sort of something to walk them to their car at the end of the night. I think that would be great because there are a lot of sick fucks out there who will think they're entitled just because they maybe left you a big tip that you're going to get laid. It's not the case, and I'm going to tell you something. These female bartenders are probably, they're going to flirt with you a little bit, or they're going to be very cheery with you, and that's because that's their job. They need to be on. They're acting a part almost because that's what's going to earn them the most tips. So you're going to get this cute little bartender while you're sitting there on your business trip, and you're going to talk to her and have a few drinks. And then as you drink and become inebriated and stupid, you're going to start believing that this woman wants you. This happens all the time. I worked in a hotel. It was insane how these just overweight, sloppy fucking businessmen who just walk in and think they're the shit because they have some executive job title that can just tip the shit out of these women and say condescending bullshit and think they're going to get them to go up to their hotel room. It's disgusting. But they do it, and they try, and it happens everywhere. So, I do appreciate women, and I do respect them, and I admire that they go out there and they still do this job. They can make a great living. But they do have to deal with some pretty gross shit. Best experience, another one here. Best experience for customers and me, like they became regulars or like family. That is another, that's a cool way to be when you work at a place with your bartender or server, wherever you're at. You create this regular crew that takes care of you. Probably becomes less like work. I never got so far into a role in food service to where I really developed something like that, but it's very possible. I've been on the other end of it, where I was the one in the front of the bar having the drinks and making some relationships with some good people, but not so much on the other end for me. Let's see what we got here. She was a server, and when she was new, she spilled drinks all over the table, and they were mad. Well, you know what? People spill shit, and I'll tell you something. I've spilled shit before. I recall carrying a tray of champagne around a wedding, and I spilled a little bit into some old Asian woman's hair as she looked at me as if I was trying to stab her. But she was not happy about it. And I said, look, I'm sorry, lady. I put a little napkin on her head, and that was it. She was fine. But some people they just can't handle a mistake. And I try to be really nice. You know what I do? I was out. It was in Iowa, and I was at a restaurant, and this poor girl, she was young. she was carrying a bunch of waters to the table, and she just spilled everything all over the place in front of everyone. And, I could not console this poor girl because I tried. Because I said, like, don't worry about it. It's fine. It's just water. I said, I tell her stories about me and how I fucked up and how I spilled shit. And she wasn't happy. Nothing was working for her. Nothing. I would tell her all my horror stories. I could have started punching myself in the dick in front of her. It would have made her feel better. But, yeah. So, even though that girl was unreachable, but when you can kind of like soften it, don't make it awkward. People are going to have, they're going to spill shit, unless it's like some you're at a Greek restaurant and the server's out with saganaki. That's, flaming cheese that's on fire. Now, if that gets spilled all over your face and you look like Freddy Krueger, then okay, maybe you get a little mad about that. But, all right, a little water spill, a little bit of, issue, let it happen, and then make a joke of it, make light of it, make everyone's experience better, because then it just becomes this weird feeling of just like, oh, you fucked up, now we know, and now you have to come show your face for another hour with us. So just let them go, let them make mistakes. People were going to make mistakes, they're going to drop some shit. So yeah, I've done it, and who hasn't? If you say you haven't, you're probably full of shit. All right, as a host, this is another entry. As a host, people would get mad because people weren't leaving and no tables were open. Okay, so I guess people were upset at the host because there were people sitting at a table too long. Now, I can see getting upset about that. I have been at a restaurant where I've seen like a bunch of open tables everywhere. I mean, I don't understand. I'm guessing it's a staffing issue, that maybe there's just not enough staff to fill all the tables. And I guess in this case, there's people lingering at a table. I don't know the etiquette. I feel as if if your bill is closed, I don't know, and you're finishing a drink, I think then once that's done, I think you should get up and leave, because depending on what time it is, and if they're still seating for dinner and for food, and somebody needs that table, I can see that, because it can get to be uncomfortable. Like, you think if the manager or anybody has to come up to you and tell you, we got to fill this table here, we need you out of here. But I do think that's common courtesy to get the fuck up and get out and, go sit at the bar. Go somewhere else. There's a lot of other places. Why are you going to sit on the same table for another hour when you've already been there for 2 and just clog up the system for them? So I see that on a few ends. I see that. That's for sure. Another one, I worked as a bag boy at a grocery store, and once a guy thought I touched his ass. So that's interesting. As a bag boy, this gentleman here, and I can confirm it is a gentleman, the customer thought he was groping his ass. Now, I don't know. That's a weird accusation, and this is where shit gets fucked up. I don't know. That's all I got from that, really. So I don't know if he grazed him maybe with his hand or something like that, or if this guy was just confused, or maybe there was a silent ass grabber from somewhere else that came along and was grabbing ass all over the place, and this bag boy got busted or called out on it. But I guess his manager diffused the situation, and there was no sexual harassment suit against the bag boy. So, keep your hands to yourself, don't accuse anything until you know what's up. You don't want to accuse somebody. There's nothing worse than being accused of something you didn't fucking do, so let's take it easy now and let's be realistic. That's that whole thing with that. They started doing that whole thing, believe all women. Remember that? That was nonsense. Come on. Like, I don't think, people yell at me, oh, you have daughters and blah, blah. I get it. But you know what? I'm sorry, but there are women out there that are pathological liars and conniving fucks who want to fuck men over or anyone over. And you can't just flat out believe all women. You can take them all seriously if they say they got a sexual harassment charge, yeah, okay, we'll listen to you, but, are you telling the truth? Let's find this out. So it's a weird situation, but you can't just start blindly believing everybody just based on their gender and the accusations that they kind of come out with. And some people perceive shit differently. Some people think that they were being sexually assaulted and they weren't. So it's a fucked up gray area. But I'm getting way off topic on that. So ultimately keep your hands to yourself. Respect women. Respect everybody, and just don't touch people. I don't like to be touched. I used to have a friend who used to give me wet willies. And this was like, I'm not talking as a kid. I was like in my 30s. There's a guy who would come up to me and just put his finger in my ear. And I'm like, get the fuck out of my ear. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? He's got his wet finger in my ear. Like, who the fuck are you? is disgusting. I really, I don't understand people. I'm a big personal space guy. I don't talk too much about COVID-19 or any of this shit, but I loved 6 feet social distancing. I thought it should have been 12. Get the fuck away from me. There's personal space. There is a thing. There's an unwritten rule of personal space. And I think we all need to just understand what that is. And, just stay the fuck away, please. Okay. So that's about it. So, okay, those were the responses I got from social media, which was interesting to hear. I appreciate everybody jumping in and giving me their stories. I don't know if I have any to share myself of any horror stories, but I recall working in, where did I work? I hated it. The Asian restaurant, Walk and Fire. I just didn't care for that place. I just didn't care to work there. It was just not a fun way to go. The manager was bitchy, and it was just a very bad environment. They didn't make it fun. It was just not for me. I had some good ones when I worked at Holiday Inn and a few other places where I'd bartended a little bit, and then those were good experiences. I met some good people. But overall, to close this up, I'm not telling anyone what to do, but let's just sort of understand that we have to be taking care of these folks and these people. I did want to mention before, though, with tipping, it is getting a little out of control. I did want to say this because I know that most professions, they work on tips, but I mean, let's realistically, most of food service, if they're waiting at a table, they're bartending, let's tip these people. But what is this new shit on iPads at places? Literally, I was at a restaurant, a little corner thing in a casino or something. The woman was grabbing me a muffin or some shit or whatever I was going to eat or something. And literally she went and grabbed something, put it down, turned the iPad over, and they wanted a tip 15, 18, 20%. I was like, you just literally walked 2 steps and grabbed a muffin that I could have just grabbed myself. I'm not tipping you. I'm sorry. That is where I draw the line. I don't think most of these things that require we're going to tip ourselves to being broke in this case, because I think certain things, counters and things, we're not tipping you. I'm sorry. This is out of hand. Now, when somebody's going to bring you multiple things to your table, you don't have to move, and they're going to come in and see how you're doing and check in on you and create an experience for you. But no, if you're just going to stand at a register and just grab shit and then turn a tablet or an iPad around and then say 15, 18, 20%, pick one. I looked them right in the eye and pressed no tip. That's right. Sorry. Not always. Sometimes I do. But I think it's out of hand for some things. We really need to get rid of this excessive tipping. I think it's what I'll call it. You can lose, if you go out a lot, you're going to lose a fuck ton of money by just excess tipping to everybody that doesn't really need it. I mean, granted, I'm sure their hourly wage is not very sustainable or livable in many, many ways, but who knows what their situation is. So do what you want. That's what I think it's excessive now with all this iPad tipping and shit. Anyways, that being said, that aside, I think taking care of them financially, of course, with your tips and your money, and also just with your be nice, just be nice gestures. Go in there and be understanding. Realize that these are just other humans taking on a job, doing what they can do. I believe the vast majority of them are doing their best. Whether, their best may not be the best you've ever had as far as service goes or, whatever. So I just think that we should just respect it. Goes along with all kinds of different jobs and within the industry, outside of the industry. As long as we start being a little nicer to each other, I feel like we really have a lot of just vindictiveness and impatience and we just don't really interact super well. In certain places, it's almost as if everyone is an obstacle to overcome to get what you want. It's a very self-centered way of thinking, and I can't say I'm perfect at this either. Believe me, I'm not. I've made my own mistakes that I regret. I've been on both ends of this. So, anyways, just coming on here today, wanting to talk about how we treat food service employees. I think it should be with respect. I think we should understand what they do. I think it would be great to just, hey, if you're young enough or wherever you're at in your life and you want to jump in and see what they do and see what it's all about, why not? Okay, so nutrition plans are still available if you need them. I'm at MFS Wellness on Instagram and LinkedIn, and you can email me, mike@mfswellness.com. And, I'm just happy to talk about whatever, whether you want to just understand what I do, get your macros run, understand the deficit, surplus, and maintenance, whatever else. I still do the nutrition stuff, just kind of taking this thing in a little different route, kind of as expand on everything and just hit way more than just health, fitness, nutrition, gym, all that good stuff. Great shit. And we'll be talking more about that as we go along. But, there's a lot more to life. And, hey, there's no restrictions. I do the podcast. I can talk about whatever the hell I want. So, hey, if you have any suggestions, if you want me to talk about anything, I'll talk about anything. I don't care. At this point, there's nothing off limits here. I do just want to stay away from politics. I really do. But, hey, whatever. So if you want me to talk about anything, if you want to come on the show, I have access to do that through Zoom, and you can be on with me, and we can have our own episode. So just hit me up. Again, that's Mike@mfswellness.com. Probably the best spot to go. You can find me on Instagram at MFS Wellness, another good spot. So until we do another episode, have a good one, and we'll see you soon.